Yesterday in the operation, Ukrainian forces demonstrated considerable long-range strike capability by neutralizing a high-value Russian missile ship. The vessel was docked over 1,100 km from territory controlled by Ukraine. This complex operation required detailed intelligence and coordination across multiple domains, and one culminated in the destruction of the Sichlan, a Russian Karak-class missile corvette valued at an estimated $300 million. The Cyclone served as a critical platform for launching Kalibr cruise missiles, which have been frequently employed against Ukrainian civilians and critical infrastructure. At 5:52 a.m., the initial signs of a separate assault materialized on Russian radar systems near the Vilichinsk naval base in Avatar Bay, a key strategic location for Russia's nuclear submarine fleet. Ukrainian forces reportedly commenced a sophisticated multi-domain strike aimed at disabling the base's command, control, and sensory infrastructure. This attack was spearheaded by F-22 Raptors approaching from the northwest using their stealth characteristics to delay detection. They were supported by EA-18G Growler electronic attack aircraft, which began transmitting powerful jamming signals to disrupt situational awareness across the Kamaka Peninsula. Concurrently, Arleigh Burke-class destroyers described as American-supplied launched a volley of Tomahawk land attack missiles or TLMs from a position several miles offshore. These cruise missiles, capable of traveling at approximately 550 mph, flew at a low altitude over the water to minimize detection by coastal radar. Their pre-programmed targets included critical satellite uplinks and communication bunkers located along the Vilichinsk coastline. Shortly after the electronic disruption began, within 2 minutes, the first Tomahawk missiles struck their designated targets. A sequence of large explosions occurred along the cliffs, severing the base's primary communication links with the broader Russian military network. As the area became obscured by smoke and debris, F-16 Fighting Falcons reportedly descended from an altitude of 30,000 ft. They conducted precision attacks against the radar domes responsible for monitoring the northern approaches to the naval base. Using the aerial and missile bombardment as cover, U-60 Blackhawk helicopters transported elite Ukrainian Marine commando teams flying low over the water through the morning mist. These teams were inserted onto the cliffs west of the base. Their objectives were specific and time-critical. To physically cut fiber optic cables, use laser designators to identify hardened enemy bunkers for subsequent naval gunfire, and then withdraw before a coordinated Russian counterresponse could be organized. The EA-18G Growlers broadened their electronic attack, filling the electromagnetic spectrum with disruptive signals and false echoes. This action effectively created a radio-dead zone along the Kamchatka coastline, preventing reliable communication. Russian operators trying to re-establish encrypted links reportedly found their signals compromised. Simultaneously, Ukrainian reconnaissance satellites were said to be monitoring the operation in real time, recording missile impacts and thermal signatures. This data was transmitted directly to the strike group's command, enabling commanders to update targeting solutions and direct subsequent missile waves through gaps in the compromised Russian radar network. The operation demonstrated a high level of coordination between air, sea, and orbital assets. While the Russian response was rapid, it was countered by a sophisticated electronic deception strategy. At approximately 6:05 a.m., a Yasin-class nuclear-powered cruise missile submarine submerged at a depth of nearly 400 ft in Avacha Bay ended its operational silence. It proceeded to launch a salvo of 33 M22 Zircon hypersonic missiles. Upon breaching the surface, each missile reportedly accelerated to speeds exceeding Mach 6 or approximately 4,600 mph, leaving a distinct plasma trail. On the surface, the remaining Udaloy-class destroyers activated their radar systems, scanning the horizon for the incoming Tomahawk missiles that were still approaching the coast. Simultaneously, from airfields on the peninsula, Kud-27 PL anti-submarine helicopters were deployed. They began using their dipping sonars in the water to search for the attacking naval assets. However, Ukraine's counter-deception plan was already active. The F-22 Raptors reportedly altered their flight patterns, breaking stealth formations to deliberately attract Russian radar locks. At the same time, the EA-18G Growlers projected numerous ghost signatures, generating false radar returns that appeared as entire squadrons of non-existent aircraft. Consequently, the radar displays on the Udaloy destroyers were filled with dozens of false targets, some showing aircraft on impossible flight paths. This overwhelming and contradictory data reportedly caused hesitation in the Russian command. During this period of sensor confusion, the actual Ukrainian strike aircraft repositioned, masked by the electronic interference. Moments later, the Zircon missiles passed overhead, their guidance systems attempting to acquire the electronic signatures of the attacking warships. However, they reportedly locked onto the decoys instead. One Zircon missile diverted sharply from its course, apparently tracking a false transponder signal projected from a small buoy. A second missile impacted the open sea, detonating over 3 mi from the coast. The third missile was reportedly intercepted and neutralized by the naval group's layered air defense systems. The electronic deception had proven effective, neutralizing what was intended to be a decisive Russian counterattack. By 5:30 a.m., with the hypersonic missile threat addressed, the next phase of the Ukrainian operation commenced. From a position approximately 20 nautical miles offshore, a Wasp-class amphibious assault ship deployed amphibious drones and high-speed hovercraft from its well deck. These craft-carrying marine detachments proceeded towards the outer docks of Vilichinsk at a speed of nearly 40 knots. Air combat resumed as Russian Su-30 Mk-2 flankers were scrambled from inland airfields to intercept the attacking forces. Reports describe intense aerial engagements above the bay, with Ukrainian F-16s engaging the flankers in close-range dog fights over the smoke from the damaged base. During this time, the F-22 Raptors reportedly maintained a perimeter, observing the engagement and positioned to intercept high-value targets. The naval engagement continued on the surface. The Ali Berk-class destroyers and the remaining Russian ULIS warships exchanged anti-ship missile salvos. Amidst this engagement and guided by telemetry from overhead drones while under the protection of electronic jamming, the first Ukrainian amphibious teams landed at the southern defense perimeter. They reportedly used cutting charges to breach the outer walls. The teams then advanced to secure the main logistics pier, which interrupted the supply of fuel and ammunition to the Vilinsk depots. By dawn over Kamchatka, the base showed significant damage with multiple fires and structural failures. The third element of the operation allegedly took place at 4:16 a.m. in central Moscow, targeting the headquarters of the main intelligence directorate of the General Staff or GRU. A surprise multi-pronged assault commenced involving waves of Ukrainian drones, including fixed-wing models and quadcopters carrying small bomblets, which approached from several directions. Simultaneously, reports indicated unconventional ground elements such as bicycle-mounted bombs were used while T-72 tanks advanced on the position. This ground advance was supported by MiG-29 fighter jets and Iris-T air defense systems, as electronic warfare units jammed local Russian radar and communications. The initial wave attacked the GRU's outer defenses. Drone swarms reportedly flew at low altitudes, dropping bomblets on guard towers and targeting radar arrays. Small robotic mine-laying systems were deployed, planting shaped charges against the compound's fortified walls to create breaches. Ukrainian infantry on motorbikes then used these gaps to enter the compound, moving quickly between obstacles and firing RPGs at bunker positions. These breaches provided entry points for heavier equipment. T-72 tanks moved through the smoke using their 125 cannons to destroy concrete barriers and bunkers, reportedly guided by live data from overhead drones. This action also allowed the bicycle-mounted explosive devices to be moved forward. Individuals on bicycles, which were carrying high explosives, maneuvered past barricades and detonated their charges near fuel depots and ammunition trucks. These secondary explosions resulted in large fires and significant columns of smoke visible over the city. The breach of the GRU's outer perimeter prompted a rapid Russian counter-strike. By 4:36 a.m., armored convoys from the 147th Automobile Base, which included BTR-82A and BMP infantry fighting vehicles, were dispatched to central Moscow. Russian Mi-28 and K-52 attack helicopters also arrived, flying low to search for the attacking units. According to reports, Ukrainian MiG-29 as supported by Iris-T interceptors engaged the helicopters, resulting in the downing of at least one helicopter. As Russian reinforcements moved towards the compound, Ukrainian sappers and robotic units reportedly activated pre-planned defenses. Small tracked robots deployed TM-62 anti-tank mines on the streets into the path of the convoys. These mines disabled the lead vehicles, which in turn created choke points and halted the advance. With the Russian armored column delayed, Ukrainian infantry proceeded with building-to-building clearing operations using anti-drone rifles to counter Russian quadcopters. The engagement escalated to close-quarters combat inside the GRU compound. Spetsnaz units reportedly launched counterattacks from concealed tunnels and fortified rooms. However, their efforts were complicated by Ukrainian jamming, which disrupted their communication lines. Reports described intense fighting in the hallways involving shaped charges, small arms fire, and the use of small drones at very close range. By dawn, the GRU headquarters was heavily damaged and on fire. The objective of the operation appeared to be destruction rather than occupation. Consequently, the order was given for a disciplined withdrawal. Tanks maneuvered back through the previously created breaches, while drones deployed smoke screens to cover the retreating forces. Arriving Russian reinforcements were reportedly delayed by the pre-laid minefields and drone ambushes, with several vehicles being disabled in the surrounding streets. The operation concluded with the GRU headquarters sustaining extensive damage. The attack presumably degraded Moscow's intelligence coordination capabilities. This strike demonstrated a significant capability to project force, suggesting that high-value targets deep within Russian territory could be vulnerable.